Hey guys, today what we're going to do is we're going to take recursive functions up a notch. Yesterday you just kind of found a couple of terms in a sequence by following a pattern like we've been doing, but today we're going to be using something called recursive notation, which is a little bit more challenging than normal. And then we're going to use that to find the terms in a sequence. That's where it's going to get a little bit more challenging for you guys. So before we can do that, I just want to just talk about what a recursive sequence is if you didn't pick up on it yesterday. We've been looking at different patterns of numbers, and we've been using those patterns of numbers to come up with a sequence, whether it was geometric or arithmetic. And then we were asked to come up with explicit rules to represent those sequences. So you had to have all those numbers first before we could really figure out if we're arithmetic or geometric. Now we're going to work a little backwards, and that's what a recursive sequence is. A recursive sequence is it's special because we are given the formula and the first term. And what we're going to do is we're going to use that formula and the first term to generate the next 2 to 3 to 4 terms in the sequence. And what the whole point of this is that you're going to plug in the first term to the formula to get the second term. And then we're going to plug in the second term into the same formula to get the third term. And then we're going to plug the third term in to get into the formula to get the fourth term. And we're going to keep doing that. We're going to repeat that pattern. And the repeating pattern is why we call it a recursive sequence, because it just repeats. So we're going to look at the first four coupled together, and then you guys are going to try some on your own. So these are the four different ways you're going to see a recursive sequence be notated. And each one of these all mean the same thing. They just look really different. We have F's, we have A's, we have N minus ones, we have N plus ones. We have a lot of different notation, but all they mean, you have to just look at them and understand that they each mean the same thing. They're just given a little differently. So the one thing you're going to have to start off with is the fact that these first couple of terms are our first term in the sequence. Whatever they give you first is the first term in the sequence. Even though it might say A sub 1 or F of 0 or F of 1, they all just mean the first term in the sequence. The next thing we're going to look at is this. This term here on the right-hand side of the equation where they're subtracting 2 from it, that is considered our previous term. This is our rule. This is what the sequence is telling us to do, but in a very odd way. It's telling us to take a term and subtract 2 to get to the next term. And that's where we're going to get to the next piece of information. This notation on the left-hand side of the equal sign is really our next term in the sequence. So even though it all looks different, it just means what's generated by our rule. What will be the next term in the sequence that we're going to use to plug in to get to the next term of the sequence, and so on and so forth. So these are just different notations that you're going to have to kind of like wrap your head around. So let's try one together. Flip it over to the next page.